I did have a question that I want to kind of dig into that we got earlier on the chat this morning. Okay, perfect. So I got a question on chat this morning from Bruce about, he said, when you talk about a 3-point move in confirming a trend, are you talking about the micro or the macro trend? And I said, both. Whether it's the micro trend or a macro trend, micro being small, macro being big, or macro being the underlying trend, micro being the smaller trend. The rules are going to be the same for both. Whether it is a quote unquote smaller trend, micro trend, you still need a 3-point move to confirm it. Whether it is a macro trend, you still need a 3-point move to confirm it. And he was wondering if one has more strength than the other. And the answer is yeah. So the macro trend, the bigger trend, is always going to have more strength than the smaller trend, the same way that a higher time frame is always going to be more credible than a lower time frame. If you're looking for kind of a more credible signal on a chart, you're going to get a more credible signal on a daily chart versus a 15-minute chart. Now, that's not saying there's anything wrong with the 15-minute chart, but typically the higher, or in general speaking, the higher the time frame you go, the more credible the signal is. The market has more time to think about it, more time to actually make good decisions versus some of the sporadic decisions that get made at sometimes on the lower time frames. So anyone on to said yes, but the micro always gives away the turn. So they both leave good clues. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think, and maybe I interpreted it wrong, but when I read the micro always gives away the turn, I interpreted that as saying like the micro trend dictates the macro trend, or the smaller trend dictates the bigger trend. And that I don't agree with. The macro trend is always going to give you more information. The micro trend, the smaller trend, just exists within it. And again, maybe I'm interpreting that statement wrong, but I want to clear that up for anyone that was reading the chat this morning, and then I'll give you an example. So let's say we have a bigger trend like this, right? This is going to be our bigger daily chart trend, whatever it is. This is going to be our macro trend. Let me write this at the top. Macro trend, or big trend, right? And then we have kind of a move like this, make this a different color, on a lower time frame. So we'd probably all agree that the macro trend is bearish, right? We have our 3-point move, our starting point to our initial structure low, our outside return, and then our new structure low down here. We have a micro trend right here, which also has that 3-point move, right? So this micro trend is bullish, right? We have our initial starting point, initial structure high, outside return, new structure high, outside return, new structure high. So the idea that the micro trend affects the macro trend or influences the macro trend tells us when to turn, again, it is not true. In fact, the opposite, right? So I'll use this example. If you're someone on a lower time frame, and you're trading this micro trend, this smaller trend, you're involved in a bullish move. You understand that this bullish move exists within a bigger bearish move. Where do you think you're looking for targets at? Someone shoot me some ideas on where you'd be looking for targets at. It doesn't have to be like a specific number based on the chart, but just in like a general location. The last outside return, the last outside return. So I would say that the majority of you guys, sorry, I got to clean the glasses a little bit. They're getting dirty. Ugh. My neighbor's dog jumped all over me this morning and slobber and licks and ugh. So the majority of you guys would say probably one of two areas, right? Probably this area right here, or this area right here, right? If you're conservative, probably this area. If you're super aggressive, probably this area. One of those two levels, right? So this is a good example of how if you are a micro trend trader, right? You're trading this in a lower time frame, you're hopping on a trending move, how the macro trend is what's influencing you, because you're basing your decision on where to take targets, which is essentially where you predict the price to go to, based off the overall trend. You know that the macro trend is bigger. You know that because we are in a bearish macro trend, right? We know that this smaller micro trend is simply a retracement, right? It's no different than this right here, right? It's simply a retracement within that trend. Therefore, you're basing your prediction off of where you expect that retracement to eventually go to and terminate before the underlying trend continues. So that's an example, again, of how the bigger picture trend influences the smaller one, not the other way around. So I just wanted to clear that up. I didn't want people thinking that, hey, this micro trend, the smaller trend, is telling us what the bigger trend will do. It's the other way around. That bigger trend is giving us an idea of what that smaller trend is likely to do. And you can certainly trade both, right? You can trade big ones, you can trade small ones. They all kind of exist inside the same orbit of trading. The main key is kind of knowing that ability to make that prediction of where price is likely to go next and understanding where we're at bigger picture. And that's why I always like to start with my top-down analysis, right? When I do my IPDE, identify, predict, decide, execute, I always start on a higher time frame. I use that higher time frame to gain perspective about what's happening in the market. Are we bullish? Overall, are we bearish? Are we in consolidation? What are the key price levels or price points that I expect price to go to? And then as I go down to my lower time frames and look at the quote unquote micro trends, I have already in the back of my head an idea of where I expect price to go if it did go in my direction. So hopefully our trader watches this and clears up. He says, yes, they both have significance. And yeah, both do have significance. I'm not trying to say one is significant and the other isn't. But I do think we do need to kind of create a hierarchy of which is more important. And for me, in my opinion, it's going to be always what's happening on the higher time frame. So there we go. Little micro and macro trend lesson. Any questions about that?
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name, check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain, I ingest, I retain, assess and I change, possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints, money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague, we all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name, all our insecurities are on. This is